Hello, St. Thomas Academy, and welcome to the Cadet Football Show. My name is Mike Maxwell. I'm your host, and to my left is our head football coach, Dan O'Brien. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike.
And we're here to talk a little STA football today. Congrats on a section semifinal victory last Saturday. 55-19 victory over Apple Valley. And and from my vantage point, it looks like we played three really good quarters and one not so good quarter. But give us your thoughts on the game.
Well, my thoughts would be we played two really good quarters, or maybe two not quite as good, Mike.
Okay.
But you know what? Again, it's a playoff game, and Apple Valley's they have good players too. You know, we
Sure.
did make some mistakes where we hurt ourselves with some penalties again.
Mm-hmm.
We had some turnovers. We had 3 turnovers, and we need to get those things cleaned up and corrected. But anytime you score 55 points, Mike, that's great. You know, and games are hard to win, so we're not going to complain about 55-19 win. But we will come back and look and say, hey, what do we got to do to clean some of these things up? The long passes bit us again.
Yep.
So we've got plenty to work on, but at the same time, happy as heck. Those kids are 9-0, and there's a lot of people that would trade places with us in a second.
Yeah, for sure. And 55 points, that's the highest point total for the year, so that's you're continuing to progress as well. So Apple Valley, their punt game did you guys a lot of favors right away at the beginning of the game. You came out of the gate quickly. Before some people had even finished their burger basket, it was 21-0. Is starting fast one of the goals that you like to put on the team every week?
Well, yeah, we always want to start fast, particularly on defense. If we can come and get somebody off the field, whether it's a 3 and out or maybe 1 or 2 first downs or whatever. But, yeah, we talk about that every single week before the game. Start fast, come out of the gate fast. But now coming out of the gate fast and maintaining that level of intensity,
right.
I think sometimes, and this sounds odd to say, Mike, but sometimes you can score too fast. And we scored 21 points, and it was barely 6 minutes gone. There wasn't even 6 minutes gone in the first quarter.
Yep.
Now again, we would never turn down those points. We had a special teams turnover, and that ended up being a touchdown for us on a block punt. But we do want to focus on that. But I think the goal after that is to continue to maintain a level of intensity that will keep the score where you need it to be.
Right. Well, and so that's a good segue for me here. So it's 35-6 at the half, and felt like things were under control, and that's when it got a little messy.
Yeah.
Apple Valley started the second half with that onside kick, and that seemed to kind of upset the tempo, at least from our perspective, for the third quarter. Were you looking? Was that surprising to you that they did the onside kick, or what were you thinking at that point?
You know what? We practiced it. We practiced it 2 different times this week, and the kid made a great kick, and it bounced off of one of our guys, and that's just the breaks of the game. Sometimes it's no different than us, going and blocking one of their punts or 2 of their punts, and making a special teams play like that. But I do agree with you. I do think it kind of got us out of our rhythm. The plan at halftime was that we were going to get the second half kickoff. We were going to try to go nail another one and hopefully get them to tap out a little bit. But it doesn't always happen that way. And if you want to find something positive out of it, is that we had guys that hadn't played 3 quarters of football all year long, and they played 3.5 quarters of almost a full game of football, and I think that will help us down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And my assessment is that we came out a little flat anyway, and then Apple Valley came out in a way different gear than they played in the first half. They seemed discombobulated that first half, and they came out in a different gear. Is that a fair assessment of?
Yeah. Yep. You know what? I attribute it to they have a new coach there. They changed coaches this past off season, and I thought their kids played hard both times we played them. I thought their kids really played hard, and most teams would have given up down 35-6 at the half. And they certainly did. And they came out, they made a big play, and that got a little bit of juice or a little momentum on their side, and got us again off our game just a little bit, and it took us a while to get back. But credit to them, they made some plays on us, and we need to take and learn from it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's kudos to them for not just, they could have easily just said, this game's over, and rolled over, and you you guys would have been playing the sophomore team
Right.
the rest of the way, but they didn't. They came back out. In fact, they scored 13 points. Felt like they had a ton of momentum going into the fourth quarter, but our guys responded and kind of everything swung our way in the fourth quarter. So that was good to see. Despite allowing a season high of 19 points, I felt like the defense was pretty formidable. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but 12 sacks. Was that the final number, or did we end up with
it was
another
actually 13. Yeah.
Okay.
It was actually 13.
I lost count,
Yeah.
up in the booth, but and I don't know if you guys track quarterback hurries, but there had to be at least as many hurries as well. He seemed to be running for his life the entire afternoon. So a great job by the defense. I will say it feels like Apple Valley may have exposed a little bit of a weakness in your secondary. I think you alluded to it before. Give us some additional thoughts on that, and maybe what you guys are working on this week to remedy that.
Well, number one, we're trying to get guys healthy. We felt their best receiver was number 3, and we were fortunate this week. We got Mark Rogalski back. We haven't had him, I think, since game 3 or 4. We haven't had him, so he's been off with the 2 ankles, and we think we're getting that piece back. Although he's still a little bit sore, but he shut number 3 down. Number 3 had 1 reception on the day. They started to go to number 26, and we didn't have an answer for 26 for part of the day, but it'll help to have him back. And that's number 1. And number 2, we brought up a freshman, I think, that will help us. And we got to take the rest of our defensive back. We just have to keep working and keep improving and keep getting better. And we need to do that if we're going to make a run. And that'll be the goal for this week, is to improve ourselves in the secondary.
You bet. Yeah, that's good. So let's move on from last week's game. Although let's talk a little bit about Love Adebayo. He's he's your new all-time scoring leader.
Yeah.
Tell our audience what it's meant to have Love on the team the last 3.5 or 4 years now.
Yeah, 4 years. He
yeah.
played for us as a freshman, Mike.
Right.
So he's done a phenomenal job. He's broken 3 records this year.
Wow.
He's broken the all-time yardage record. He's broken the touchdown scored record, and he's also become our all-time leading scorer. Which people say, well, what's the difference? Well, you can have some people that have kicked some extra points, or they scored some 2-point conversions, things like that. So. The number sat at 312. He had 3-6 going in, so the offensive line made it a goal to get him 2 touchdowns to not only tie the record but to pass the record, and he ended up with 3. So he's sitting at 318 with hopefully 1, 2, 3 more games to go. For sure 1.
Yeah.
So I think that he will build on that record. But to have a kid play 4 years to play as a freshman and to continue on, it's been fantastic. He's been great. For us, and he plays hard every time he gets on the field. He plays incredibly hard, and we've thrown the ball to him some this year to try to find other ways, because teams, of course, key on him.
Right.
But we can't thank him enough for what he's done for our program, and we kind of that whole senior class, we want to make sure we send those guys out the very best way we can.
Absolutely, and I would add this about Love: he's a pretty good defender as well. Had a real nice hit on number 3 to kind of put a final nail in the coffin.
He sure did, yeah. And we'll use him more too. You're right. He is a good defender, and so we've been practicing him on defense a little bit more these past couple of weeks, and we haven't done that in the past with him, but he's a versatile enough athlete, and we have Savion to take some of the workload off of him on offense so that we can play him a little bit on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I feel like Love's been a pretty good mentor and a friend to Savion as well, and I think it's helped him progress in his career.
No question about it. Those 2 are like best friends.
Yeah.
They're like brothers, so it's fantastic. They support each other so much, rather than say, gosh, I'm not getting my touches, or I'm not getting my touchdowns.
Right. Yeah.
When Love scored his touchdown, Savion was as happy as anybody.
Right.
And
awesome.
was there to meet him. And those 2 have been great. We couldn't have asked for for guys to get along any better than guys that are sharing a position than what those two have.
Yeah, that's awesome. The professionals could use a little, could take a lesson from those guys, right?
The college guys too, by
Right,
the way.
yeah, maybe, yeah. All right, so let's change gears a bit. You mentioned Mark Rogalski is still kind of still working through his injuries. Kind of a key component to your defense in the speaking of defending the pass. Anthony Bickford went out with what looked to be some kind of a shoulder injury. Can you give us an update on what's going on with him?
His shoulder popped out a little bit. He separated a little bit, so he'll probably be out this week.
Okay.
Running down under a kickoff, and he stuck his arm out and just ended up pulling out. He wanted to go back in the game. We held him out. And of course, on Sunday he was pretty sore. Yeah. So we'll get that thing MRI'd. We'll take a look at it. We'll keep him out this week for sure, and maybe another week after that. But we do think he'll be back. So we're hopeful with him. And shoulders are dicey a little bit. Especially as a defensive back, he's got to be able to get his arms up above his head, and he's got to be able to put a shoulder on somebody. Yeah. So, but we'll do what's best for him to make sure that his health is number one. And if he's able to go for us again this year, he's a key player for us in the secondary, and that certainly doesn't help our depth. That would be two safeties that we've lost this year with he and Blake Fritz with his knee. So we need to keep those guys healthy.
You bet. Any other injuries of note?
Not from Saturday. I think we're fine. What we're dealing with was there's a bug going around school, Mike. We've had a bunch of kids out of school, so that's probably a bigger concern right now than the injuries themselves. I do think that we'll get Noah Erickson back this week as a punter. He won't be able to quarterback, but I do think he'll be back. He's been taking some snaps this week and kicking for us. So excited to have him back. We've missed him these last several weeks. So he's one that we'll have back. But otherwise, we just got to keep going. We're fortunate we've got a little bit of depth to help us.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to the players of the game. All right,
players of the game. We got a whole bunch of them this week.
I know. Let's hope we can remember.
I know.
All right, let's start with offense.
Offensive player of the game this week was Jordan Wold. Jordan had a great game for us. He's been blocking fantastic, and we put a special play in for him this week, a tight end screen, and if you remember that play. Yeah, I do. He had nothing but green grass for about 40 yards and did a nice job at a key time of the game to keep a drive going. And so with that play and also with the blocking that he's done, he's our offensive player of the game.
Well, and I'll tell you, it changed, it swung the momentum is what I felt.
No doubt.
We were struggling to even run the ball, much. And that play just changed the kind of the whole thing. So and I actually called it. I was doing the color commentary, and I told Sam, I said, if I were these guys, I'd throw it to Jordan Wold right now. And guess what? He did. So
that's fantastic.
I felt pretty good about that. So how about on defense?
Defense was Nathan Nepstead this week. Nathan was active all game long, and one of our leaders on the stat chart again. And he's played really consistent for us this year. All three of the linebackers, of course, we've talked quite a bit about Jackson and Sam Fulton as well, but this week our defensive player of the game was Nathan Nepstead. All right,
awesome. How about on special teams?
Special teams, we honored the two guys that had blocked kicks.
Okay.
Jack Springer blocked a punt that Bennett Kotak recovered in the end zone for points, of course, which for your special teams to produce points is fantastic. Yep. We love that. And then Jeffrey Craig blocked a punt a little bit later in the game. Okay. And he had his hand on an extra point as well. Okay. So those two guys were our special teams players of the game. Yeah.
Well, and I'll add Jeffrey was on the line was incredible. I mean, I don't know how many sacks he had, but his name seemed to be called all the time. So that was fun to watch as well. And then our favorite award, the Grinder Award.
Yeah, we had two this week. Okay. Gavin Engelbert, he played both ways for us this week. With some injuries, and we're short a little bit on the defensive line. So he ended up he probably played 100 snaps for us on Saturday, which is a ton. Wow. So he was grinding on Saturday, so he got a Grinder Award. And the other one was Mark Rogalski coming back, and he's playing in some pain. The doctors have told him that, you know what, you just have to kind of tough this out. You're not going to hurt it. You're not going to make it any worse. You just got to, if you want to play, you can, but it's going to be painful. So for him to come back and in play, and I think he was also on the verge of some of that flu stuff that was going around because
Okay.
he was sick on Sunday and probably had a little bit of that on Saturday as well. But played a fantastic game, so we honored him for grinding through an injury and some sickness and being out for quite a while.
Well, and a tough assignment that Collins
he
was
followed
a heck of a
Collins' kid.
player, and I had noticed he was kind of hobbling a little bit on the sidelines. So good for him to be able to grind it out. So, all right. So let's move on. You mentioned it before. The win brings you to 9-0. A lot of teams would love to be in that spot. But as we've seen throughout the section playoffs this year, not just our section, but a number of sections, a winning record does not guarantee a victory, right? So as you think about that, what are the couple things that you guys are working on this week to prepare for this week's game?
Well, we all know we were playing Two Rivers, right? Two Rivers, I think, is a 7, 6, 8 seed, something like that.
Yeah.
I think a 6 seed.
Yep.
And they upset Hastings, which was unexpected.
Yep.
And then they upset Kennedy, who was 7-1, on just a crazy finish. The last 5 minutes of the game, Two Rivers scored twice in the last 70 seconds, 90 seconds,
something like that. Yeah.
So they're on a roll right now. They have a different quarterback. Their quarterback was out with an injury. They brought a different kid in, a senior kid. That was a safety for him, and he's led them to 2 wins. So I fully expect we'll see that kid back at quarterback, and the Mogelson kid, their best player on both of the offensive and defensive line areas. He's been out, but I expect we'll see him back, and they're rolling. They're in a good spot right now, and their attitude over there is going to come in here and say, "We got nothing to lose. Let's let it out, and we'll try everything and see what happens." So for us, we're making sure our kids understand it's playoffs, and anybody can beat anybody on any given day.
Yep.
So our kids, we need to come out and play well. We're dealing with some of the sickness stuff this week, but it's the next man up kind of a mentality for us, and we have to go take care of business.
Right.
And like we talked earlier about it, Mike, we got to come out of the gate fast. We can't let them hang around. We want to try to avoid them getting a bunch of confidence and feeling like that they should be there and can beat us, because if we let them do that, they can. There's no doubt about it. So that's the stuff we've been working on this week.
Right. So I asked you about it a little bit about it last week, and I think it's even more pertinent with this team is you beat them 51-0 the last time. How do you? I mean, again, these are high school kids. How do you keep them from really overlooking a team that they, handled pretty well?
You know what? It's a challenge, and some of them you'll get to, and some of them understand, and some of them don't and won't get it. But we talk about, don't worry about who we're playing against. We need to worry about ourselves. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to make sure that every single one of us, from the coaches to the players, from the first player to our 100th player, that everybody's trying to get better at their stuff every single day. Right. The things we talk about all the time in our program: be thankful, be humble, be on time, and outwork people. If we do those 4 things, the score, Mike, will take care of itself. And those are the things we're going to continue to focus on, and not worry about who we're playing. That piece should never matter. Take care of the things that we can control, and the score will take care of itself.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really good stuff there. Well, Coach, thanks for talking a little cadet football with me today. I really appreciate it.
For sure, anytime.
Good luck on Friday night.
Thank you.
Sorry. Your cadet football team will play the Two Rivers Warriors on Friday evening. Kickoff is set for 7 p.m. The game will be here at St. Thomas Academy in Gerry Brown Stadium. Tickets can be purchased online, and we'll add the link below so you can get those ahead of time. If you're unable to watch it, or unable to make it but want to watch it live, you can do so at cadetbroadcast.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week, and go Cadets.